A report from the Congressional Budget Office, a nonpartisan group, concluded that this bill in its current form would add a whopping $3.8 trillion to the federal deficit between the years 2026 and 2034. That's a conclusion that is drawing ire from the bill's defenders, such as Congressman Andy Barr.
Well, look, first of all, the CBO score is wrong. The CBO has been wrong repeatedly. It was wrong when they scored the first Trump tax cuts. They were wrong by over $1 trillion. Why? Because the CBO doesn't do this scoring dynamically.
CNN's Phil Mattingly is here with me now to walk us through it. Phil, give me a gut check on these numbers.
Let's start with the baseline. No pun actually intended there. That was a budget joke, though. That the CBO and Republicans have a long-standing dispute. The Republicans have long believed that the CBO doesn't score tax cuts properly. They underestimate the effect of tax cuts on growth. They underplay the overall effect of government programs in terms of the ability of those to grow over a period of time. So it's long-standing. They have really tried to front-run this report over the course of a series of months, saying they get this wrong. They don't understand how this works. Congressman Barr was getting at the critical point there, which is dynamic scoring. They're not able to actually quantify how much growth will have an effect on the broader economy.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but like they're not allowed to. It's not like a choice. They are right. I mean,
this is an important point. The CBO is not infallible. They get things wrong. They acknowledge that. They come around and oftentimes update their projections. They're on tight deadlines. They're asked to turn things around very quickly. We're watching a process right now where they're actually doing that. But there are limits to what they can do, and there are also limits to the baselines they use in terms of laws and how they actually operate, statutory baselines. The reality right now is this isn't just the CBO. The Joint Committee on Taxation says $3.8 trillion to the deficit over 10 years. The Penn Wharton budget operation, $3.3 trillion over 10 years, even if you account for dynamic effects. $4 trillion was cited by Moody's when they decided to downgrade the U.S. earlier this year. So this isn't happening in isolation. This isn't just a CBO issue. This is a broader issue that Republicans are grappling with right now.
All right, Phil Mattingly, fascinating stuff. Thank you so much. Joining me now, Republican Congressman Mike Lawler from New York. And Congressman, you were a holdout on this vote yesterday. You were a fierce advocate for lifting the SALT cap. That's the state and local tax deduction cap. It's something from individuals from high tax states like New York or California push for, so people can do an added deduction on their taxes if they have high state and local taxes. But then your group, of SALT, whatever you want to call yourselves. Do you have a nickname? Salt
Caucus.
Salt Caucus? It needs work. Anyway, then your group came to an agreement with Speaker Johnson. So are you a yes on this bill?
Assuming everything else is static, yeah. Look, as we have worked through this process over many months, and going back to last Congress, as our committees did a lot of this work leading up to this, my focus was on a few key areas. Number one, obviously, the tax bill. We want to extend many of the provisions of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, including the doubling of the standard deduction, the enhanced child tax credit, business deductions for small businesses. But lifting the cap on SALT was paramount for me. And I said very clearly I would never support a bill that did not adequately lift that. This is a 300% increase from the current $10,000 cap. We were able to additionally lift the income limit to $500,000 as part of this, with the $40,000 cap put in place. So this is providing real tax relief to middle-class families, especially in districts like mine, where they have high property taxes and high state income taxes, and being able to itemize on their deductions. 7 years ago, 50% of my district itemized their deductions. It's now at about 18% of residents because of the $10,000 cap on state and local taxes. So this is going to provide immediate tax relief to middle-class families. And for my Democratic colleagues who say it's not enough and that we didn't fight hard enough, the reality is that when they had complete control in Washington just a few years ago, they got $0 of increase, nada, zilch, nothing. And that is despite Chuck Schumer and many of my New York Democratic colleagues, including Hakeem Jeffries, saying that they would. So we are delivering on something that matters to our district, to New York. And that was a big part of the negotiation yesterday.
So President Trump, Speaker Johnson, the House Freedom Caucus holdouts on this bill met this afternoon to settle more of the disputes that they have specifically about the deficit and the debt. I think they want more. It's not like they oppose the tax cuts, which would obviously decrease revenue, but they want more spending cuts. What are you hearing about the status of the vote? Does Speaker Johnson have the votes to get this passed? Does he have the votes to get it passed today?
From what I heard thus far since that meeting concluded, I think things moved in a positive direction. Look, there's nobody that disagrees that we have to deal with our debt and deficits. The fact is we are $36 trillion in debt, up $30 trillion over the last 2 decades. Both parties bear responsibility for that. Joe Biden increased federal spending by $5 trillion in the first 2 years. We're now running $2 trillion deficits. We're paying $1 trillion in interest on our debt. So we have to start to bend the curve. You're not going to fix this all in one setting. And there will be a requirement to have bipartisan consensus on other avenues to find savings as we move forward. But in this bill, the fact is we're projected to spend $86 trillion over the next decade. We're talking about $1.5 trillion in savings, which is about 1.7% of the total spend. So, we're making progress, but the fact is you still have a long ways to go, and that's not going to be done in just one bill, and I think most people recognize that.
The White House today said that failure to pass this bill would be, quote, the ultimate betrayal, unquote. Do we know whether the president has been able to twist any arms of the holdouts?
Yeah, Jake, actually, we just heard from House Speaker Mike Johnson as he arrived back on Capitol Hill. He said no final decision yet about vote timing, but that they are still trying to decide if they're going to move forward tonight or tomorrow morning. But obviously, the speaker indicating that he still wants to meet that ambitious deadline of passing the bill out of the House of Representatives before Memorial Day. Now, I'm standing outside of one of the conservatives' office trying to understand whether or not their minds were changed in this White House meeting, because obviously they are critical to whether or not this bill can get across the finish line in the next 24 hours. They have been very concerned about the fact that this bill does not have enough spending cuts. Meanwhile, if you start to change this bill in a major way to win conservative votes, there are questions about whether or not you start to lose some of those swing district Republicans that are also critical, not just to getting this bill finished, but also for maintaining the Republican majority. And that is something that Johnson has been trying to underscore to his members over and over again. Meanwhile, people who are ready to vote on this bill say at this point, Johnson should just bring it to the floor. Here they are.
I think the speaker knows how to play the cards, and he will do it, bring it to the floor at the time that he feels confident that it will pass, that the president feels confident that that'll pass, and that'll occur within the next 24 hours. I believe that. I hope that's the case.
I'm still optimistic. I think Mike Johnson has done a nice job to bring the different factions together. We've never claimed that this is a perfect bill, but it's a dadgum good bill, and we need to move forward with it.
And obviously, things could go very late. If they decide to move forward on the floor tonight, you can expect that Democrats may try to put in some procedural hurdles over the next couple of hours. That means that they could be voting in the dead of night if they decide to move forward. It's also possible, of course, that they hold off until tomorrow. You vote when you have the votes. Jake?